Boy, we still got that timing way off. We got to get that thing figured out. We'll get it figured out, though. Welcome to some back-to-back streams. I separated them because we're talking about two completely different games. So let's jump right into it. We're doing a Dynasty deep dive. That's really all we're interested in here. The gameplay's been out for a while, and I think a lot of the gameplay things match the Madden 26. So we did the gameplay for Madden 26. Still waiting for the CFM deep dive to come out for Madden 26. We'll cover that next week whenever that does drop. Let's look at the Dynasty. From what I understand, this is a 75-page blog.
Why?
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't get it either, but that's what it is. And we're not going to cover every single detail. One thing you have to give credit where credit is due to the college football team is, man, they are passionate about this game and they are adding a lot of depth. What up, Dacia? I don't know if I said that right. You'll have to correct me. How you doing? Thanks for hanging out on a Friday. We just did some Madden. We're going to do some college football, so let's jump into it. A lot of details, and I think that's what Madden's missing, what college football brought to us last year. And, man, they are doubling down on the details from presentation to Dynasty to customization to your coach to, like, everything. You can do that, Bill. Bill, I love you. College football. Building your coach, lots of customizable options, though I question this fella right here. Hold on, why is this not working? There we go. This fella right here who looks like he's being held hostage and he's not being let go. I mean, this fella looks... It's AI. I can put myself as president of the United States right now. We can't get a little bit like cleaner looking models where this fella doesn't look like he's being held hostage. I mean, what's up with that right now? But anyway, you can do all kinds of stuff with your coach. You can dress them how you want to dress them. You can create them how you want to create them. They've added in all the real life coaches. Well, not all, but most of the real life coaches. I do not play Roblox, but I appreciate you asking. Play a lot of Madden, a lot of shooters. A lot of college football. That's what we do here at GrownFolks. You can also not only see all of the, at least most of the real life coaches, but also a lot of the assistants. But you can now dress your coach however you want to dress them, which is like one of the little qualities of life that never fully made sense to me of like why this wasn't already in the game. Like every single game out there, you can do 1,000 customization things. Like, why can't you do this one as well? And so they at least are adding some of that stuff back in. This new adaptive AI, all of this stuff, the stance, like when you're on the sidelines, your demeanor, all like those little details about adding more realism, more customization to make your dynasty feel a bit different than everybody else's dynasty. And I think those are all really good things. Now the maximum coach level has been increased from 50 to 100. We just didn't play enough, I think, in the Deuce or the OMFL College to see that become a real issue. I think Dynasty and Madden sort of run neck and neck with how much progression you can actually see happen. I don't think this has been a big problem. What's going to be interesting is because it wasn't a big problem to begin with, now is it going to be a bit problem because it's going to be harder to advance your coach? I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's there, and we'll have to see exactly how that plays out. The amount of XP you get, the archetype levels, the different progressions. I think we could do like an hour show just on archetypes, on progression systems, on XP. Not going to do that. You can go read the 75-page blog yourself if you're really, really into that. Outside of this, it's just cool. It's just another level, another layer of engagement, another level of detail that they're adding. I never fully understood the old system. I can be completely honest. So I got to throw myself into it this year. I get a bit overwhelmed. It's so much detail. It's so much stuff that you got to read, you got to learn, you got to understand. There's so many ways to sort of approach it. It becomes a bit overwhelming. I think they're teetering on that edge right now of like, all right, this might be a bit too much detail. This is not a full-time job, and college football has such a cult following and such a massive player base. I could see why they want a game that's so engaging, that keeps players engaged for long periods of time. For me, though, I split the time between Madden. I'm going to be a Madden first guy and a college football second. To be honest, probably a college football third guy, with shooters being second. I'm just interested to see how intrusive this becomes, but there's all kinds of different architect types that you can now be. Recruitment, motivator, tactician. Recruiter was sort of the go-to last college football. That is not the case. I've heard lots of people are already starting to sort of point out and complain some of the flaws in the system of you don't become an elite recruiter until you've actually become an elite recruiter. And it's like, well, by now, what do I care? I've already got 2 top 5 classes. What more can you give me? So I could see the flaw in the system. There's program builder, CEO, so different ways to approach. And I'm always interested because I think all games, shooters, sports games, whatever it may be, they create all these options, but it's not an even playing field. They don't all get you to the same outcome. If you work them, it's not a different way of getting there. Instead, 1 or 2 of them become OP, and that's what everybody does. And so you've created all of these options, all of these other ways of approaching it that no one ever uses. And so it's like, well, why are they there? Either balance them and make them all useful to where guys can truly pick the way that fits for them to approach it, or don't. Right now, I don't think that that's what happens. I think there's 1 or 2 ways. Usually it's just one to get there. Everybody does it. Everybody figures it out pretty quickly, and you go. That's why I enjoy our leagues that get going quick, because if you wait, all that stuff gets figured out, and then everybody uses it from the get-go. If you don't wait, then you have to sort of figure it out as you go, and you get, I think, a bit more natural data set to work from. Again, this starts to get into a weird place for me of like, I never truly understood how it all worked. And maybe it was because the OMFL College, we just didn't get enough XP to make this matter. Let's see how much control we have on the back end as well. Coaching carousel, it was cool. I think making this easier to understand will be much better. I still struggle with it in College Football 25. It was never clear of when you fired coaches, when you hired coaches, who you were picking from, who was out there. Like, it was just not super clear, in my opinion. I also love that there are these little extra things that you can get as a head coach that will help you hold on to your coordinators. I think that's another way that adds in customability to your dynasty to make it feel different. Trophy room, super cool, especially if you're telling long-term stories. I think this could be a really cool long-term thing. We'll have to see how that plays out and who takes use of this. I think like Maniac is going to create some really cool, Maniac's a college football first guy. So I think this could allow him to do some really cool content. How much of this can you share and see in other members of your dynasty would be really neat, because you could tell the story of the complete dynasty as a whole instead of just your team. Building your program, shaping it, all starts with how you recruit in the transfer portal. And I think this is going to matter even more coming into College Football 26. And I think that's a good thing. 2,000 players will enter the portal. That's really, really good. The ability to see who's interested in you in the portal, who's not. Your own players that want to enter the portal, playing time is now going to matter. You're going to see us talk about that here in a little bit. We're only like a third way through this blog, and I'm what are we, 15 minutes deep almost into this stream. So you see there's a lot here that you could cover and really dive deep into. But this just isn't a mechanic. They're saying they're trying to make it actually matter. They're going to try to make it become a strategy. And I think in some of our, maybe all of our dynasties, because they are just like a 3 to 6 year dynasty, the transfer portal becomes even more impactful, because I'm not running 10, 15 seasons. I'm looking for the short-term impact over the long-term recruiting and building. That's going to be really, really interesting, but I like that there's going to be more players. I never found the portal in the OMFL College League, which was low-rated teams, to be that impactful. And rarely were there players in there that could come and impact my team immediately. You're going to see more quarterbacks, which I think is going to be much more realistic. You rarely seen an impactful quarterback in the transfer portal. Deal breakers are not only dynamic now, they could change, but there are ways to see how the deal breakers are affecting your team, affecting your recruiting, affecting people that want to transfer. And I think that's all very, very important, including how playing time. They talk about playing time several times in this blog, but that's going to matter. Not only playing time about starter, backup, but just playing time just overall. Like if I'm a third string wide receiver on a team, but you're playing 4 wides 90% of the time, what up, Daniel? Then I'm getting a lot of plays, and I'm not viewed as a backup, even though I may not be in the top 2 starters. So I think those are all really great additions and tweaks to the system that we are starting to see. I want to see it play out. But this could be really, really good stuff for us. The evolving expectations, so things are evolving and changing. Players are going to be looking at different things. They can't do the NIL thing, but I think there is now this new NIL sort of rating or way of presenting your school. It's going to make the Deuce, which is a high-rated, you can have anybody, and they do a draft and whatnot, and the OMFL College, where you're picking lower-rated 2-star teams and building them. It's going to be really interesting to see how those two dynasties feel different. I felt like in OMFL College, even with low-rated teams, within 2 seasons, they weren't low-rated teams anymore. They were top 5 teams, top 5 recruiting classes. These were superstar teams in a very quick time. And I don't think it should be. I think it should still be very difficult in the 4, 5, 6 seasons. Let's see if that actually happens as we come around to College Football 26. new abilities to try to keep your players on your team can be really great. You can turn transfer portals off. You can also adjust how much of effect they have in your dynasty. All these little tweaks, all these little things that you can make your dynasty really fit the way that you want it to is all really good stuff. The new My School additions here, you're going to see the different aspects of where your team ranks, where other teams rank. I think this could all be really great stuff. I felt a lot of this information last cycle was useless, in my opinion. I ignored it most of the time. Maybe it's because I wasn't in the deuce and I was in a smaller school, smaller league, more laid back, that I just didn't pay attention to it. This also can be a place where I feel like you're teetering on the edge of making this a full-time job. It's like, yo, it's not a full-time job. It's just, I want to turn this on, play for an hour or two, go play something else, come back to it a couple times a week and have a really good time. It starts to get in a really weird place where this could be, you need to quit your job and do this stuff. I felt like that last year, and they've only added to that. I'm hoping there changes to UI and changes to where you can find stuff make this a bit easier. Location-based recruiting, a great change. If a guy's close, it should be easier and quicker for you to be able to scout them, especially with the lower rated schools where you have to, really pick and choose where you're getting your recruits from. I'd like to see the ability to, if you're fighting a bigger school, that you have something else to offer them, whether it's playing time or starting position, like ability to sort of grab a recruit or two. Maybe not a 5-star guy, but maybe it's a 3-star guy and I'm a 2-star school, but I can offer him the chance to come be big fish in a little pond, and that intrigues them. Even the little changes like adding these up and down arrows over to the actual prospect list so I can quickly see, oh, I went down here, I went up here, I'm doing good here, oh, I need to spend some time here. That's going to be really, really good. The discovering a new star, they've moved the attributes, abilities around to where it's a little bit easier to see this. Depending on how you've created your coach is going to give you some new opportunities to see some things a little bit quicker than maybe you've seen some other ones. Let's, again, see how this plays out and see, does one of these coach abilities or the way that you build a coach or that you build a program, does it become OP? Does it become a little bit more powerful? I don't know how to feel about recruitment battles. I see what they're trying to do. I see what they're trying to achieve here. As I've heard other people say, bigger streamers out there, that this just feels like another step. And maybe it is. But if it really truly becomes a two-way street, is it like, all right, we're down to 2, you both have equal chances here? Or is it still like, you're down to 2, but like on this example, Arkansas is way ahead. And so it doesn't really matter what you're going to do. And that just becomes another step, another thing that I've got to get through there. They've reworked pitches, deal breakers. You can now use the sway. I never really understood sway. It never worked the way I thought it worked. They've tried to make it easier to understand. It opens up new things that you can now pitch to a recruit to talk them into coming to your school. And I think that's a much better way of explaining how this works and a much better way of approaching this. And it might give you the edge to get a player that, you're pretty far behind. I also love that they've added these new icons so you can quickly see, oh, this is where I'm spending these recruitment points that I have, and I want to move some things around. They've changed the quality of life aspects. I think this is great, especially this top portion here. I think too many times I was like, I need this, and then you get to the end of recruiting, you're like, oh, I've got 25 cornerbacks in my team. I screwed up somehow. Sure, some guys that have all the time in the world to only play this, they never did that. But for those of us who are splitting our time between other games and playing other things, and this is not a full-time job, those little quality of life things will really, really help. Player progression has been changed. They now allow you to manually do that. They're going to talk about that down here. I don't know how I feel about that. I liked the randomness. I liked the ability to not put it all on a specific one. I think that's what happens in Madden is guys put in the effort. They figure out which one is the best and just do that one. And then it's just like brainless. I just turn my head off and do it. Like, again, now we are disqualifying the time, the effort, the options that have been added because 3 of the 4 options suck and there's one that works and you just do the one every single time. College football, I felt like, took that out of the equation last year because you didn't have any ability. It just, they progressed on their own way, and I liked that. I wish that was the way they stuck to it here in College Football 26, but also in Madden 26. They didn't. I get it. Guys want to pick where they put stuff. I just think the old way was a little bit better. We'll have to see how this one plays out. There's new abilities, physical abilities. There's new ways to start to put into those so you can see that you can spend points. Again, I personally enjoyed that was random, and it depended on how you played with them, and it depended on how you used them. I also sort of go back and forth. You can see Jeremiah Smith here, 99 overall. There's no 99 overall pro player. Now, I get it. 90, guys who are the best in the best of the best in college football are not always the best of the best in in professional football, but I don't know, man. I just go back to lower the bar, the ceiling on everybody in college football to where an 85 plays like a 99, but he's not 99 overall because he wouldn't be 99 overall in Madden. That stupid little thing, and I get it. Dev trait upgrades, training results. This is a really, really, really just nice quality of life change to the UI. I can now see where my players are getting better. The manual progression that we talked about, again, this gets too intrusive. It's too much. It's on top of everything. I feel like I ain't going to have time to play anything else. I'm just going to have time to play this. And it's like, that sucks. I wish I liked the old way better. I just do. And I feel like this is going to get really deep and too much. Position changes are awesome. You can now see who you're changing, where you're changing, how that's going to affect the player. Felt like it was a bit of a crapshoot last year when you did it, and it didn't always sort of work the way that you wanted it to work. This feels like a quality change, even if it's just more of a UI change and an easier way to tell who's going where and how that change is going to affect them. I think that's a good thing because I struggled trying to move my team from a 4-3 to a 3-4 and moving defensive ends who were fast as stand-up linebackers, edge players. Like, it was difficult to figure out where to put guys. Cornerbacks to receiver to cornerbacks, cornerbacks to safeties, safeties to cornerbacks, like safeties to linebackers. It was tough to decide exactly where to do that, and I felt like you spent a lot more time than you should have there. I love wear and tear. They've now added season and career health to the wear and tear system. It's going to be really neat to see this. I think this is another level of realism that makes your engagement and the management of your teams and your players better. And I dig it. I dig it a lot. I feel like this can be a lot. -7 to change of direction. -7 to break tackle, it says. -6. Like, that's -6 to speed. That's a lot for a yellow leg. We'll have to see how this changes and how impactful this is. They said they've tweaked it to be a little less impactful, but that feels like a lot. -6 on an 86 speed running back feels like, oh, he's useless. I got to sit him. So maybe that's what they're going for. And that's how we'll have to see it. I love the new auto subs, the wear and tear strategy, the fatigue in and out. These are all great. Again, does it work? Oftentimes these things are added to the game. They don't work. And it's like, well, why'd you give it to me if it doesn't work in an online CFM? You got your custom settings here. Again, every CFM is going to be able to really hone this in to be exactly what they want. If Madden is anything that it's ever taught us, though, this probably needs to stay on 50s for most of them and just see how it plays out. It'll probably be 3 or 4 months, but then with every update, this is going to change. You start chasing your tail. I think there's some normal, natural ones, but what we tried to do in the OMFL last year was keep it within 10, one way or the other. Just keep it 40, sort of the max. And that tended to play a bit better, even though it was sort of a crapshoot, because every update could just break it. They could break it overnight if they wanted to. College football history, cool, I guess, if you're super into that. Yeah, the new tiebreaker logic. Let's make somebody like Bill's nipples hard. Hopefully that makes its way over to Madden football. Career and season stats. This is great for long term. Some new abilities and stuff or new positions added. It's speedster, route artist. I love this stuff. I'm wondering how much of this stuff makes its way to Madden. Maybe another year before we get it. But this could be really neat if it works. Again, stop adding things that don't actually have an impact. And that's sort of my worry. Formation subs, these are a bit easier. These never work. Do they work in an online CFM? If they only work in an offline CFM, great. Who cares? But do they work? Try that again. Had a stroke. A little mini stroke. I'm okay, though. Custom conferences and protected opponents. Does it work? I don't know. It never works. This drove Maniac and Bird nuts last Madden. Does it work? If it works, awesome. You can give us our protected opponents. We can actually customize conferences. It's going to be awesome. Does it work? It never seems to work. College football has been expanded, but again, you have custom ability to decide how that's going to work. Quality of life to access awards, development traits, all that fun stuff. Cool stuff. You can now run 32 custom Dynasty with all of the different platforms. That's a cool addition. And then the little things. So the dynamic time of day, that's going to be a chef's kiss. Hopefully it doesn't mess with frames per second, all that stuff. Hopefully it doesn't mess any of that stuff up. Super sim tempo adjustments. Don't think that really matters. Coach stats. That'll be really neat. Sim to points. That's kind of neat. Especially if we start doing some play a season, sim a season. This is some neat little stuff, but this is a lot. I'm not going to get into team builder at all. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff for them to add to a game, a lot of things to cover, a lot of things to get our hands on and actually see. I think the game drops soon, don't it? Let's see. There's our date down here. Did I miss it? I thought it was down here. Anyway, when is it? Let's type it in. Let's see. College Football 26 launch. July 10th. So what, like 2 weeks-ish, roughly, kind of, somewhere in there. 2 weeks before the game drops. I didn't get the beta. That's a lot of stuff around Dynasty that we can look at. So all good things, I think, and all things that we can jump into. My worry about the game is it's going to become a full-time job. And for those, like the Maniacs of the world, that this is their game. This is what, this is what whets their appetite. This is what gets the juices flowing for them. Do they zoom and take off because they're diving into every detail that's out there? Or those who split the time, is it still user-friendly? Is it still ease of use to where they still have an opportunity to compete, to grow their teams, to grow their players? That's a lot now. I have to manually increase your players, manually do your coach, recruit. That's been changed. The new system around transfers, that's increased. Like all the in-game changes, all the in-game stuff. It's a lot. And I'm also super intrigued about how many of these new elements that we've talked about for both Madden and college football are the same. So if it's like the same combo to make a defensive stem adjustment for my zones, is it the same combo for Madden, or do you have to learn two completely different things? That's why I'm excited about the flow of the game. Though college football should still probably feel a bit faster. They'll feel a bit closer to one another, which will make it easier to play both games for those of us who play both games. That's a lot. Down in the comments, both on the Madden stream and this one, let me know your thoughts. What questions do you still have? What are you looking forward to the most to get your hands on? What are you like, that just totally scares me and I have no interest in that? And appreciate you hanging out for me. We're going to keep our eye out for more news. We'll do some more of these and maybe even do some React content. Even though I talked myself out of it today, maybe we'll react to some Maniac content. In the OMFL, I want to do some React content too. Guys who put out content here about the OMFL, maybe even some college football now that I'm going back to the Deuce. Guys, I love you. You matter. Thank you for hanging out with me here today on a Friday. I hope you have a really great weekend. We'll be back later tonight or tomorrow with some shooters. If anybody's around, maybe some NHL. That should be a ton of fun. I haven't been able to stream any NHL just yet, but the guys were up late last night. They played late. Those just don't even start till 11 o'clock. It's like, that's my bedtime. I go to bed at 11, and you guys ain't even getting going. You're not even in the chats till 11 o'clock. I don't know how those dudes do it. The NHL group might be a little too late for this old guy to get himself going, but I'm going to try my best to stream that. Guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. I can't wait to see you on the next one. Until then, God bless.
Smash that like and subscribe.